Hey, welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake. This week we've got Cullen Bunn on for a second time, along with Mark Torres, to talk about their new Image comic series, Cold Spots, kind of a atmospheric, gothically tinged horror series out in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, August 22nd. We also talk a lot about Halloween, now that I think about it in that interview. But after the interview, if you want to hear us in a spoiler-filled talk about Mission Impossible Fallout and just kind of look back on the entire Mission Impossible film series, boy, have we got a outro for you. But first, before we get to that, let's talk some Cold Spots. And coming on the show, we have Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres. Their new Image comic series, Cold Spots, debuts on Wednesday, August 22nd. Kind of this very supernatural horror, though. I feel like this is... Well, first off, thanks again to both of you guys for coming on. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, no problem at all. I feel like this is more atmospheric than, say, Regression or Harrow County. There's something kind of more contemplative about this book in comparison to a lot of your other horror books, Cullen. Was that kind of a conscious decision?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted this book to reflect sort of a different mood and feeling, sort of a different corner of the horror genre. So yeah, I wanted it to be a little more deliberate and moody than some of the more fantastic stories I've done. Regression relies heavily on, it's got a lot of body horror elements and some really horrifying images that pop out right away, and we lean into that. But with Cold Spots, it's very much in the real world, and very much it's sort of a gothic horror story, really. And I wanted to lean into the sort of broodiness and the eeriness of it all.
Mm. Now, Mark, you're all the way over in Manila. Cold Spots,
yep.
Based on what we've seen so far, largely takes place in like small town Americana, North Carolina. How has it kind of been referencing and just drawing these kind of both these horrific images and drawing something literally on the other side of the planet?
It's always fun, taking various projects, especially something very atmospheric like Cold Spots. Especially Googling all the reference images. I'm pretty sure by now Google suspects something about me with all the keywords and stuff. It's fun. It's almost like doing a digital travel tour, and at the same time getting to see the mysterious side of America and stuff.
Sure,
it's cool. Yeah.
I was talking to Scott Snyder, and he would always say that whenever he had to Google like the most horrific shit, he would just do it at like the public library, so the FBI wouldn't knock down his door.
Well, thanks for letting me know right now, and we're about to finish and stuff, right?
That's right. You guys have. This is slated for 5 issues. You've worked quite a bit ahead. You also, where did the idea to come up with the original soundtrack to this miniseries kind of come about?
Is it me?
I think that's all. I think all of that is on Mark. So I think it was his idea, and he was showing off his creativity, and his multifaceted talent.
Mm.
I was hoping to actually pitch in some more to make the experience extra special, i.e. haunting for readers. And I've always enjoyed soundtracks, not only when enjoying media, but at the same time while creating it. So I just pitched it into Cullen, and luckily he rolled with all this crazy stuff that I keep throwing at him. So hopefully readers will have a fun time with not only with reading the book, but also listening to the accompanying soundtrack.
Sure. Now, Cullen, a lot of your characters kind of, I mean, you see it in Regression, you see it here in Cold Spots, you even see it with like Jimmy Hudson. A lot of your protagonists kind of exist on the fringes. What is it about those kind of characters, those kind of outsider lone wolf characters that you find intriguing as a storyteller?
I feel like, first of all, I think those characters can surprise the reader a little more. I think you're not sure what they're going to do, what crazy stuff they're going to pull. I feel like, yeah, and so from a, there's that from that standpoint, and maybe it's also a little bit, I think most creators are going to say that they have felt like outsiders at one time or another or all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think that helps me gravitate to those characters a little bit. Only in stories like this, it's taking it, much further, taking it those additional steps. But some of it definitely comes from just, having seen myself as an outsider or feeling as if I was, on the outside of something else, of society, or whether that was in school or at work or just in life in general. And I think, capitalizing on those, those memories and those feelings, and that's what's kind of lures me into writing about these characters, just taking it, to the nth degree.
Right. Now, I'm going to kind of go a little more abstract. Cullen, you've written quite a, I mentioned Horror County. You've got Bone Parish over with Boom. You've got Regression with Image. Now Cold Spots. And, of course, Mark, you've got some experience illustrating horror yourself. You had contributed to the Richard Matheson anthology and the Hellraiser anthology. What do you guys find so fascinating just about, like, what attracts you to crafting horror?
Well, Cullen? For me, it's I tend to just gravitate towards it anyway. Even in things that aren't necessarily horror books, I think you'll see horror elements sort of bleeding into the stories. But there's something that helps me along when I'm writing. When I'm writing about these terrible things and these terrible events, there's something about those stories that kind of helps me through, the very real terrible things that happen to us every day, and the very real horrors that are always out there, or that I'm always I kind of always obsess over and worry about. And there's something about this kind of story, even though they're stories about bad things happening to people. In most of my horror work, it's also about people struggling against those things, and that fills me with a little bit of hope, I guess. That I'm not saying my characters always succeed, because quite frequently they do not. But the idea that you can fight back against these terrible things that happen to you. And I'm not talking about, ghosts manifesting in the real world, or, demonic possession or any of those. I'm talking about things that just feel like are out of your control, and feel like they're weighing down on you. And I feel like these horror stories give you the sense that no matter what, there's still this chance. And I love stories about characters who are sort of facing these overwhelming, horrible odds. And whether they succeed or not, those are the characters that I admire, and that I feel like I wish I was a little more like.
And then, Mark, what is it about?
For me, I grew up heavily, being fed horror films during the 80s. So it started very early for me, and as well as some pretty strange personal experiences. So those things were like huge early factors for me to get fascinated with horror and the unexplained, and eventually it just connected. There's something about horror that automatically elicits emotions. it isn't something that you need to force out of or have to think heavily on. So that palpable, instantaneous shock value is kind of it's pretty unique, especially in terms of entertainment. Um, there's not a lot of material out there. I mean, especially genres that can almost compare to it. So, I mean, yeah, I also enjoyed superheroes, reading superhero comic books when I was a kid. But it was horror that really stuck with me throughout until now. So, being able to keep doing all these amazing projects that delves into something I'm very passionate with is really very thankful for.
I had asked Cullen this the last time he was on with the regression team, and he's if you want to change your answer, that's fine. But I'm kind of contractually obligated to ask anybody that delves into horror, especially 80s horror, who is your favorite slasher? Is it Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, or Freddy Krueger?
Let's hear it, Mark.
Hello?
Yeah. Oh no, I can hear you. Yeah.
Is it my turn to answer?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I want to hear your answer, and then I'll see if I changed mine.
It's a tie between Jason and Freddy Krueger. I almost saw the films, side by side with each other, so it's pretty hard to choose. But if there was a gun pointed in my head, I'd say it's Freddy Krueger. Is he a slasher? I don't think it's. Is he? Is he?
Yeah, he still qualifies.
He slashes.
Yeah,
yes.
He's got the knife hands.
It's more of my pick because he also does it pretty wild in the dreams and get all those trippy images. So Freddy.
I'm pretty certain that I would have said Michael Myers when we talked last time. If I didn't, I was super drunk or something. So I will say Michael Myers again.
I think you did, and based entirely off the strength of the first movie, because there's, for me, the first Halloween is like the definitive slasher movie, but I don't know if there's a horror franchise that's seen a faster law of diminishing returns than Halloween, unfortunately.
I tend to agree. Although I will say, when I think back on the Halloween movies, yes, the first one's absolutely my favorite. There is a moment, though, in Halloween 2 that absolutely terrified me for some reason. And I remember going into a room and it was playing on HBO or Showtime or something, and this scene was on, and it just frightened me so badly. There's a scene where Michael Myers approaches this nurse and stabs her from behind, and then lifts her off the ground with this scalpel, and her feet are twitching. And there's something about that moment, just talking about it right now, chills me a little bit. I don't know what it is about that, but that scene really sticks with me as one of the maybe one of the scariest things I've ever seen on film for some reason.
I feel like they were trying to double down on the sequence in the first film where he pins the dude to the wall, right?
Yeah, and also that's the best scene in the first movie, I think. Well, I don't know. The first movie has so many great scenes, but yeah, I think you're right. That was sort of a let's take it one step further.
Yeah, I'm stoked for the new one.
What they didn't get in the in that scene in the sequel is what was scary about that scene in the first movie where he stabs the guy and pins him to the wall is this look of curiosity that Michael Myers seems to have. He kind of tilts his head a little bit and looks at the guy for a little bit, and that's what is really scary about that scene to me.
Yeah, the only emotion there is just sheer curiosity, almost like he completely can't quite grasp the consequences that he just wrought, or maybe he does and just doesn't care.
Right.
So, Cullen, I'm going to put you on the spot a bit. What made Mark the perfect artist for Cold Spots?
Do I need to mute my speakers?
Yes,
Or
please,
like,
please mute this, Mark. Well, now that I know that Michael Myers is not his favorite slasher, that was the one of the three he didn't pick, I feel like there is no right answer. But Mark and I were actually going to work on a book together years earlier. At one point, Mark was in the lead running to draw a book I did for Oni Press called Hellbreak, and it didn't happen for various reasons. I think I think Mark had other things going on, and it just wasn't right for him at the time. But I was so I was enamored by the moodiness of his art and his ability to bring out this creepiness. And when we started talking again later about doing something together, Cold Spots immediately popped into my mind as something that he might just, be the perfect artist for. Again, because of his ability to just creep you out on these subtle moments, these quiet moments. Because Cold Spots is mostly a quiet horror story, and I felt like that made it sort of him the perfect artist, and this a perfect book for him.
I'm so thankful that this is not a video, so you guys ain't seeing that I'm turning red.
Well, Mark, let me turn the question around a bit. What made Cold Spots the perfect project to kind of pick up?
Well, it's horror, but not your typical run-of-the-mill horror. There are very super, cosmic. It's a mix of cosmic and then the supernatural. That's on the forefront, and more importantly, in the very soul of it is the human condition, which I've always kind of looked for in effective horror. I think a lot of people tend to get misled that it's just about the monsters and the blood and the killings and stuff. But for me, actually, it's more about dealing with how humans react given the situations they're in. I think it's the very realism of it, the fact that you can relate to whatever's happening to the characters that you're watching or reading. Those are some of the instant hooks I got when I was reading the pitch that Cullen sent. And come on, man, I wouldn't miss this opportunity for like a lifetime. I mean, we lost it previously for Hellbreak, and ain't no damn way I'm gonna do it again this time.
At the risk of getting my nose brown, but hell, I'll just do it anyway. Like, what I love about this is, the first two covers have been released for Cold Spots, and they really do remind me of like a Stephen King novel from the 80s, right? That kind of moodiness. And I think that you guys capture that tone and that kind of deliberate pacing throughout throughout these first couple issues. That's which is all I've gotten through. It's not like it suddenly changes at issue 3, unless it does. Who knows? But I feel like you definitely kind of nail that kind of moody, atmospheric vibe.
Well, thank you.
Now, something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you guys currently geeking out over?
All right, so I'm not going to say, I mean, look, I'm reading a lot of different comics right now that I like. And there's so many great comics, but I'm going to talk about something that's not comic.
That's fine. Comic, yeah, totally.
That I'm definitely geeking out over, because as I was waiting to start this call, I started going through my bookcases and pulling off copies. There's a magazine that came out that is role-playing game based. The magazine's called The Unspeakable Oath, and it was written. It was sort of developed as a support for the role-playing game Call of Cthulhu, which is my favorite role-playing game because it's horror based. And the magazine's just full of just great ideas and sort of awesome materials. And as I was getting ready for this call, I went online and, or I went to my shelves and pulled all my copies of The Unspeakable Oath down. For some reason, I was thinking about it because Arc Dream Publishing is publishing a new version of a game a game setting called Delta Green, which is sort of an X-Files meets Call of Cthulhu setting. And Arc Dream is sort of where the publishers of The Unspeakable Oath, they were originally the publishers of Unspeakable Oath under a different name. And anyway, I've just been reading all these Delta Green source books. I'm actually planning on running a game again, which I haven't done in quite a while now. And I've been really nerding out over issues of The Unspeakable Oath. I made a want list as I was waiting for the call to start of the issues I'm missing in the magazine. So I'm really I find that I tend to do that. I get into something in a minor way, and then suddenly it becomes an obsession for at least a few weeks. So I think I've entered that obsession phase now. And it bugs me because Gen Con starts, this week, and I'm not going to Gen Con, which is this big gaming convention. And a lot of my friends and frequent collaborators are there. And I kind of wish I was going just to play games.
Any interest in the upcoming Call of Cthulhu video game?
You know what? I don't know that I don't know that I remembered there was a Call of Cthulhu video game coming out. I think someone told me that. But what system is it coming out on?
All of them: PC, PS4, Xbox One.
Well, then yes, I'm very interested in it, and I just looked up the site for it so that I could look at I could check it out. But there's no doubt I'll buy that game when it comes out. Nice. And I don't play video games very often. I'm not good at them. I'm speaking of Call of Cthulhu, there was a Call of Cthulhu video game for, I guess, maybe the original Xbox that frustrated the hell out of me. I mean, to the point that I was throwing controllers across the room because I just couldn't figure it out. But I'm still going to give it a try. I'll still give this one a try when it comes out for sure.
Sure. Mark, what are you currently kind of geeking out or enjoying, nerding out over these days?
More of outside comics, music stuff. Besides Cold Spots. Cold Spots actually is the only comic project I'm laser focused on right now. I really want to get this thing properly translated. I mean, Cullen's story is just fantastic. It's a horror movie just waiting to be produced, and I really want readers to also feel the same. When every time I get these scripts, I want them to really get immersed in the story and the characters that we have. So that's all in terms of comics and probably even most entertainment. I try to avoid actually getting influenced because I have a tendency of watching a lot of horror as well, TV series and rewatching old movies. So I'm a bit of conscious of mine to avoid getting influenced. So outside of comics, it's just purely music. I've been working on a solo EP for a while, so just checking up on various bands that I really love and processes of self-producing an album. It's been fun. It's been a very fun and learning experience, and I'm happy to be able to also apply my love for music with art and most specifically Cold Spots.
We had kind of gone down the horror movie, especially the Halloween tangent earlier. I was wondering if you guys had, what your stance is on the upcoming Halloween and, first impressions and how you feel about it dropping basically everything but Halloween 1.
I'm fine with that. I think, I'm kind of I'm definitely excited about it. It's going to be an interesting, I know some of the setup for it and everything. So it's going to be an interesting movie, I think. I think it'll be interesting how they handle Michael Myers. What is it? 40 something years later now.
Exactly 40
So,
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's he's going to be an old serial killer. But that's good. It gives old folks like me some hope, right? But no, I'm excited about it. I think they have the right attitude going into it. I think it's a movie made with a lot of love for definitely for the first film, but for the franchise as a whole. And I'm excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah. I remember seeing like the silver shamrock mask in the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. Like I said, on some level I've enjoyed almost all of the Halloween movies. I think there's one I really didn't like at all. And so I'm gonna. There's no doubt that I'll watch this thing. But I have hopes that it'll, it may, the chances of it reaching, the level of the first one are, that's pretty low. That's a bar you can't really compare it to.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see how close it gets.
All right. Well, before we let you guys back to the wilds of St. Louis and the Philippines, is there, anything else you'd like to plug or tease about Cold Spots?
I think it's going to be an exciting book for people. I think it'll surprise folks. It's different. Cold Spots is quite different from most of my other horror work, and I think Mark and I have already started talking about the world that Cold Spots is set in, and how to expand that world in some interesting and surprising ways. So I think Cold Spots is the beginning of something, something much bigger, and something that I don't know that we see very often in terms of horror comics. How's that for a tease?
Perfect, man.
Yeah. Mark, you had mentioned that you've got the solo EP, but you've also, obviously hard at work at Cold Spots. I feel like you've got to be close to wrapping the entire miniseries, or, from a production standpoint at this point, or at least you're working very far ahead.
Yeah, we're a bit advanced, so that's some room to do all this extra stuff, like with the soundtrack. Not just rush things out and just for the sake of having a soundtrack or other stuff. But we have the good grace of being able to really work early on Cold Spots, plan everything out properly, and just get the timing of things right, and hopefully people will really enjoy it as well. I mean, leave any preconceptions about horror at the door. Come in, just enjoy each page as they come, and it's about the experience rather than just reading, right? So
yeah, it's about how it connects.
Very excited. It's just a few weeks to go, so
yeah. Well, again, for all your listeners out there, if you're a fan of classic Stephen King novels or Silent Hill, Cold Spots, Supernatural, the TV series, it definitely kind of like, though it's there's definitely something more, like you were saying, Cullen, something more gothic about it, something a little more crimson, a little less Halloween, a little more Crimson Peak. But it's
I think that's a good comparison, really. I think especially when you get into some of the later issues, it really goes into that a Crimson Peak kind of feel, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with you've got the family aspect in this too, which I guess with Regression you were dealing with past lives and all that, and Harrow County you were it was almost like this, like you're exploring this kind of like small town southern kind of gothic kind of sort of thing. But with this, it's on a much more rooted personal level, which I find fascinating.
For sure. There and there's the family is a key to Cold Spots, because we have Dan and his family, and then you'll be introduced to some other family elements in the as the story progresses, and then a different kind of family even as the story progresses further. But yeah, family keeps resurfacing in this book quite a bit.
Yeah. So again, Cold Spots out in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology if you're more digitally inclined on Wednesday, August 22nd. Cullen, Mark, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Real good talking to Cullen and Mark. It's Cullen's second time on the series, and it was good to get Mark all the way from the Philippines. Cold Spots really is genuinely just like this really atmospheric gothic comic, so I can't recommend that enough. We've all seen a film since the last time we recorded.
Yeah.
It's called Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yep.
What did you gents think of the 6th entry in the Mission Impossible? That's wild. First Mission Impossible came out in 96. It's been 22 years. There's only been 6 movies.
Well, I feel like there's like the first one comes out in 96. The second was what, 2000, 2001? I mean, like, kind of a big gap. And then
there's a 6-year gap.
There's and
then a 5-year gap after that.
We're in like the prime time of it. We're like now, every couple of years,
it's episodic.
Bing bang boom. Yeah, I mean, it really starts with 3. I mean, 1 and 2 are solid. I'm sure we'll talk about all, touch on that shit. But like right off the bat with 6 that I love. Maybe my
best
favorite
running.
Well, yeah, one of the best match strike sequences.
The prologue,
I love it. I love it.
As soon as they showed the guy in the hospital room, I was like, oh, this is all set up. This is great. And I was just like sitting there watching. I was like enjoying it. I was like, did they get Wolf Blitzer in on this too? Awesome.
In a manner of speaking. Yeah. Didn't the first one kind of start out similarly?
Yes. That was the opening scene of the first one.
It was like an interrogation or something.
And there was like a dead hooker who turns out to be.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
One of the.
But also everything goes wrong, right?
With the prologue, that's
right. That's right. I was getting the two things mixed up. Yeah. That's right. They're like celebrating, and then Emilio Estevez gets elevator shaft to the face.
He gets shafted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty hard.
Yeah. That first one, I mean, solid.
Yeah.
Solid film.
It feels like a completely different franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much like the Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah. It feels like Ronin or like The Usual Suspects or Leon, something kind of from that like mid 90s era, because 96. And then like the one that's most indicative of its time though is Mission Impossible 2.
Sure, the soundtrack, the crazy like
the cinematography, everybody
slow-mo.
wears black,
Yeah.
It's like a Matrix movie.
Yeah.
It's basically a Matrix
But
movie.
it's
a response to the Matrix.
Yeah.
It also really starts the Tom Cruise, let's see if I will survive this movie era.
My first reaction to Mission Impossible Fallout was, wow, Tom Cruise is really trying to show that he's still got it. Which, to his
credit,
to his credit, he still does.
He definitely does. Yeah.
I wouldn't fuck with him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love Tom Cruise, man.
Yeah, no,
I love Thomas.
But yeah, like
Cruise.
No, it's like Mopather or
Cruisington.
It's like Mop. It's something weird like that, like his real last name. He is the actor I own the most films of. Yeah, for real though. I mean, those aren't my films, but
well, no, I was trying to see what Chris's would potentially be.
I mean, good luck figuring it out by looking at the spines.
Probably Harrison Ford.
Probably. Well, actually, I don't know.
I didn't looking at the spines.
But I don't have the Indiana Jones movies. So
Robert Englund.
Sure. Actually, that is a
good
that is a pretty good guess.
That's a good contender
because I do have the entirety of the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Yeah.
And he's in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I think. No, that's Wes Craven's in that.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Cut. I usually say that, Shannon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fuck Fucking monkey Wes. Kids, audiences love monkeys.
We love this monkey. See?
That was the first thing I purchased when I went to like Real Deal College. I
Yeah.
went to a Walmart and bought Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back on
Nice.
DVD. Watched the fuck out of it.
That was one of the first movies I had going into high school. Because it came out right before I started high school.
So Mission Impossible,
Fallout.
I will say I recently read a snippet of an article that said, mathematically proven, the more Tom Cruise running, the better a movie performs.
Oh.
And this, in a separate article, was being lauded as one of Tom Cruise's best movies. I don't know if I would agree with that specifically, but it was damn good, and there was a whole lot of running in it.
it's a great solid Mission Impossible movie. Just
Yeah.
for shits and gigs, my favorite's 3.
Mine's Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to
yours
these
is
movies.
2.
No.
That's Josh.
Josh's.
Because we established that, because that was one of the last things we did
I think-
commentaries for.
Oh, that's right. We did. Do
I think
commentary.
if I vaguely remember, Ghost Protocol was up there as one.
Well,
of my
Ghost Protocol is the
favorites.
Dark Knight of Mission Impossible.
Just like Mamma Mia 2.
And
Is the
did you
Dark
see
Knight
it?
of Mamma Mia
I
movies?
almost I thought about it. And then like I said, but it's like I know the Dark Knight's the best Batman movie, but Batman '89 is still my jam. So like that's like
Oh.
Mission Impossible 3 is Batman
much,
'89.
much like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade for the two gentlemen right here.
or for Dark Knight and Batman Returns.
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
I mean, which one has Pee Wee in it? Thank you.
Yeah.
Case.
Thank you.
I think this is it was a really, I walked out completely satisfied.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily aspires to top previous entries. It's just like this.
I think it kind of does because I think it because that's Tom Cruise's like mission statement. Like for real
His
though.
Mission Impossible
Possible statement. I was just gonna go along with you on that one, but like
The disdain in your voice
Yeah.
when you said that.
no, but like because seriously though, like you think about it, like I still think the best, like the most I've been like holy shit, like sucking the air out of my lungs thing was seeing Ghost Protocol with the thing in Dubai, like with the hanging out there.
Oh yeah.
That shit was fucking crazy.
Yeah, that's still, I think, the top stunt.
Yeah, I think so too. Not to say anything less, because I will say one thing that super bummed me out is the shot in the trailer that took my breath away was not in the movie. Where he's in the helicopter and he's going towards the truck and they're about to crash, and I'm like, I remember like it cuts out and it's like ding ding down with the first, and it says like Mission Impossible Fallout, and I'm like, how the fuck's he get out of that? We'll never know. But I mean that's just a small like little stupid thing. The moment where he is on the rope and he's trying to get in the helicopter and falls backwards.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa! I mean, the Halo jump is a Halo jump.
He does a Halo jump.
That's fucking nuts. The amount of like that's special forces shit.
yeah.
And the amount of like training that goes into that.
They
Like
average like a handful of deaths a year. The
Like,
fucking
it's-
special forces training in Halo jumps.
Henry Cavill told a funny story where like I think if not all, most of his brothers are in the military.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I have to do this Halo jump." And he was like, with Tom Cruise, he's like, "Tom, like, come on, please, like,
Got the gear on.
He's like, tell
Come on,
like,
boss.
He's like, yeah, you're
Come
the
on, coach, let me in.
Yeah, you're the boss, man. Like, come on, let me. And Tom Cruise like pulled him aside. He's like, I get it, man. Like, I get you're excited, but if you jump with us, you'll kill all of us. So no. And so he was like, fair enough. But I mean, the Halo jump, even the bathroom. I think I don't
Bathroom
know.
fight.
Sam and
Oh,
I
the
definitely
bathroom fights.
That's my
That's
favorite
the best
scene.
Favorite
Yeah.
scene. Yeah, I wish it went even longer.
Yeah.
I again because I've been watching Henry Cavill videos like I do. It's really no different now.
I
with
wish
just
they had
Mission
had
Impossible.
the musical sting for when he like flicks his collars.
Yeah.
The dun dun.
yeah.
I get it in the context of the scene.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made sense because there wasn't really a whole lot of music during it.
All the incidental music's gone.
Yeah.
All the music's gone.
But they said they were supposed to take 4 days to shoot, and it took 4 weeks to shoot the
That
bathroom
fight
scene.
sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
But I mean, the great car chase, motorcycle chase.
Oh my god, that motorcycle chase!
It's fantastic
was
because it's like that's old school stuff. It's
Yeah.
not about explosion. That's fine. Like when you put explosions and like
Yeah.
crazy stuff,
Gadgets.
but it's just them chasing each other.
Yeah.
Like that is like bullet shit, man.
Yeah. Jedi shit.
great. And can we take a moment to just talk about how great Henry Cavill was in it?
I mean,
great.
I mean,
And how essential his mustache was.
Yeah,
yeah, it was very essential.
totally. And if you ever want Two-Face Cavill,
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yes, sir. I'll take it.
also, is there any Mission Impossible villain that goes out harder?
No, I was gonna say like because Philip Seymour Hoffman does like
He gets trucked.
get his head knocked off.
Yeah,
How does Dougray Scott go again?
he gets shot.
Is that what it is? Okay.
He kicks up the gun from the sand and shoots him.
Oh yeah.
Cavill is not the first one to die via helicopter, though.
No.
Yeah, in the first one, old school.
Yeah.
Red line, green line.
I wish
yeah.
they brought that gun back.
Oh, dude, that's the only gadget they need to bring back. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is the best shit.
And that's a pretty rough death too.
Yeah,
I'd say
'cause, like, it's like
Cavill's
tumble,
probably
tumble.
still rougher.
Well, Cavill is
Takes a
again.
hook to the
He
face.
gets.
Oh, I you probably did, but like because Sam was sitting right next to me, but I was just like, right when that like I saw it coming from a mile away because it kept cutting back to the hook, and I was like, no.
Yeah, like I think you're. Yeah, I'd go that far
You
because
might
like
have even
he
heard
gets
me,
like
Jake.
he gets like his ass kicked, or he crashes, gets his ass kicked,
Gets acid burn.
acid burned, and then like you see it kind of coming, hits him in the forehead, and then you see his body hit the ground
Yeah.
and then explode. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's some
he's
Cobra
pretty
shit.
dead.
It's obvious watching the trailer he's the bad guy, but I was praying that like
He would just
that
be
was
another
all this-
Jeremy Renner.
that was all the setup, and he was gonna see him let loose and just kick the fucking shit out of some bad guys.
Yeah, I kind of they swerved on me because my thing was like, oh, well, they're basically telling you in the trailer that he's the bad guy. So like kind of like what you were expecting. I was like, oh, maybe he's just like he's the quote unquote bad guy because he's just from the rival agency or whatever, and Tom Cruise sees him as a threat.
When he sees
But
Tom
he's not-
Cruise as the bad guy, so
Yeah.
he's gonna go after him.
Yeah, he's
But
assigned to supervise him.
But turns out, no, they're still going after the same dude.
Yeah.
They just hate each other,
Yeah.
which I guess that was Renner's character.
Well,
essentially, right?
Renner
Where-
was like originally assistant to the IMF secretary, Tom
Mhm.
Wilkinson's character in Ghost Protocol.
Yeah.
And then when Tom Wilkinson gets fucking rocked, he's like, "Well, I'm with you now."
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
he was originally in charge of looking after the Ethan and his wife.
Yeah.
And then puts himself in like self-exile. Basically, he's
Gotcha.
like,
Yeah,
I can't do this anymore. And then Tom Cruise is like, I'll wait till the end of the mission and be like, nah, dude, it's cool.
Yeah.
She's alive.
There she
stop,
is.
Stop killing yourself over it. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, thanks, man. Like you could have told me this freaking months ago or
Yeah.
whatever when we first met.
I do love the writing style of these Mission Impossible movies, how they're unapologetic about like, oh, we've written ourselves into a corner. Well, but Tom Cruise knew that this was going to happen all along, so here's a little gadget that he's had in his pocket that no one said anything about. Like when Ving Rhames is like, oh yeah, we took the tracker out, but we put in our own tracker.
Yeah,
I was
classic.
just like, you son of
But
a
it's like-
bitch.
yeah, like
but
you're
I
saying-
loved it.
because this is the like franchise that has masks that you just put on someone's
Yeah.
face to be like, whoop.
Well,
It's
no,
totally
you
works.
you also have to put that little piece of tape over their,
Well, sometimes
vocal cords.
remember in 3 where like they're waiting for it to upload and Film's Hoffman's like like coughing and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whatever. And one of my favorite moments in 3, I don't know why it's so funny, but it's Ving Rhames' delivery where like Tom Cruise is all like he's basically Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's basically Philip Seymour Hoffman, and like they open the crate or the grate or whatever, and Ving Rhames is like, "What's up with you?" He's like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Nothing. What's up with you?" Nothing. I love Ving Rhames. I'm so glad that he's in all of these movies.
Yeah, I love that he's still in these movies.
Yeah.
Did you know that like Renner, they had originally written a cameo for Renner, but they weren't sure what his Infinity War schedule was, and so instead of Ving Rhames being held at gunpoint in the Belfast sequence, it was going to be Brant, and they were going to kill him off.
Oh.
But
So now there's still room for him to come back in
exactly,
the next
yeah.
one?
They like when Christopher McQuarrie was like, "Hey, this is what we have planned for you if you're interested," and he's like, "I'm good."
Yeah.
I mean, just they need to bring back Paula Patton though. That's all I care about.
And Maggie Q,
Bring her back too.
yeah,
But definitely Paula Patton.
Jonathan Rhys Meyers.
And John
he can
Voight.
come back, but definitely Paula.
Here's
Patton.
here's a fucking wild shit.
Whoa.
The
You've caught
Sam-
a wild shit.
a Sam Stone wild shit.
yeah.
Halloween will be rated R.
That's a callback to
the
last
next
week.
the next season of Luther
Oh,
will
yeah.
be starting.
Yeah,
Idris Elba.
yeah, and it will be called
Sorry,
Luther.
I fell into laughter just thinking of it.
Yeah.
That's a while ago.
The God.
That's
yeah.
I don't even know if that was recorded or if that was.
No,
just
it was.
off-
That was
No,
one of
it
the
was.
earlier episodes,
Okay.
like super early. But the
No shit.
it's my favorite Tom Cruise gif from any Mission Impossible film. Tom Cruise is right now 2 years younger than Jon Voight was when he appeared in the first Mission Impossible.
Oh shit. Okay.
Because he's running, he's staying in shape.
Yeah. You would never know the dude's in his
Yeah.
50s,
No.
right? You
Yeah.
never know the
I mean,
dude's
he's
like 56.
closer to 60 than he is 50.
Yeah. Maths.
That's fucking insane, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
City miles on the Voight,
Yeah.
or just good miles on the Cruise.
Yeah.
Dude's
on a-
56.
It would be leagues or fathoms. No, that's all depth. Fuck. What? Knots. No, that's speed. But yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Sure, why not? It's all wrong.
It's all wrong with Chris Nolan.
Yeah. That's
A
the next
memoir.
specialty series.
A memoir.
But no, I mean, honestly, I would put Fallout tentatively right now. I've only seen it the one time. I would put it as my number 2.
Dang!
You are my number 2
Yeah.
a guy.
I wouldn't, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah.
It was good.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
2.5 hours. Is it the longest? Is that this?
I
It's got
think
to be the longest.
it's up
right?
there. Yeah. It's
You know, it didn't feel like it was that
No, it
long,
didn't.
though. Yeah.
I mean, it moves and
It was
it's
well-paced.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Proper job. Proper goodness.
When are they going to do in comic form? Because they've never happened in movie form. The Ethan Hunt James Bond crossover.
Dynamite's got to get the license.
Yeah. Why not?
And they just
Yo, Dynamite.
yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh well, the big problem is that Tom Cruise doesn't allow his likeness on anything. So
That's
it would.
right. I remember
Um,
playing the N64 game.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it.
So it would have to be basically pointless then.
Yeah.
He'd
Have to be.
He'd have to be dead.
He's avenging Ethan Hunt.
Yeah.
Did
you ever play the N64 game?
No, I did not.
It was difficult.
Your
Was
voice
it-
got very high towards the end of that.
Was it impossible?
I beat it.
Oh.
I beat it.
So just like the movies, the mission was possible.
One of my favorite lines, perhaps one of the few favorite lines in Mission Impossible 2 is like when Anthony Hopkins says, "It's Mission Impossible, Mr. Hunt, not mission difficult."
Oh.
Yeah. What a weird movie. That's like, again, you watch that movie and it's like 2000. Like you're wearing like cargo shorts and you're like, you've got the weird silver chain and, well, let me put it this way. You're wearing Jeanco jeans down to your ankles almost.
Ugh.
Like remember like the man prees? Everyone
Yeah.
had the weird like super jeans that weren't really jeans.
I mean, I don't remember when I had them,
Yeah,
but I
not
do remember
everybody.
they existed.
Did you have him, Samuel?
Just a single pair.
Yeah.
That's why I don't wear shorts anymore.
Oh
guys.
yes, that's so good. I love it.
That's so.
No. Let me eat that up. No. I'm gonna eat that shit. Tasty jean shorts. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Ugh.
That's so good. That's better than Mission Impossible Fallout, and I like Mission Impossible Fallout quite a bit.
The image of me in Jeanco jeans.
Oh yes,
Skateboarding.
listening to Blink-182.
Well,
Yeah.
some things never change.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be a Throwback Thursday picture on Instagram, but no, because no one will ever see it. No one will ever know.
Sam doesn't have calves. Can't prove me wrong. No one's ever seen them.
I'm like a Gengar. I don't have joints. That's a Pokemon reference. Yeah. So thanks again to Cullen Bunn and Mark Torres for coming on our fine program.
Uh-huh.
Cold Spots out in comic book stores everywhere and on Comixology on August 22nd.
Mm-hmm.
This has been another installment of Catching Up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake. Thank you very much.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.